There's something incredibly beautiful and startlingly intimate about singing a song over someone, or about having a song sung over you. I was remembering the other day as I was reflecting on my mama, my grandma, who passed away a couple years ago. And every time there are certain hymns that I'll hear in the church, or will even hear on the radio, or that at times will just pop in my mind, that reminds me of my mama. I actually can only hear the hymn through my mama's voice, singing over me. I remember at times being a little kid and crawled up in her lap, and she would rock me in her lazy boy chair and would sing hymns. What can wash me white as snow? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. There are times whenever I can picture her, looking up at her as a child, as she's standing in the pew singing the songs, the hymns, singing over me. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of the intimate, tender moment whenever I proposed to my wife on a beach in Destin, Florida, whenever we were on a family vacation. And before I proposed, we danced on the beach, and I sung one of our favorite songs over her. As a matter of fact, it's actually one of the things. I have 4 kiddos, and man, I love my kids, and now they're all older. My youngest right now is, in 3rd grade, and but one of the favorite things that I had as a dad was putting them to sleep. I don't know if your kids were like mine, but putting kids to sleep is not an easy thing to accomplish, and usually doesn't go quick. But at nighttime, I would, after my wife would, feed the kiddos, if we were still breastfeeding, or after she would lay them down, sometimes I would go in because they were struggling, or sometimes I would actually say, "Hey, I'd like to finish," and she would go out of the room, and I would pick them up in my arms, and usually I liked cradling their head in my left side, and I would swing back and forth, sway back and forth. Usually I was standing, and I would look down at them, and then I would slowly start to sing over them. And usually the songs I would sing over them were songs that were about faith. And in those moments, I believe that I was singing a prayer over them, a blessing over them, something that would craft them at a level that was far beyond what it was that they could comprehend, that would minister to their present and to their future in a way in which they did not know and could not comprehend. And yet it's in that tender space of singing a blessing over another where a union of relationship occurs, where an intimacy is born and proffered, that ultimately is solidified by an unending and impenetrable memory filled with love. It's this reflecting I was doing this morning when I was ruminating on Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 17. One of the things that's always startling to me about the prophets is the prophets have some of the most vicious, vivid imagery of judgment, usually oriented towards the nation of Israel. I mean, listen how Zephaniah starts. Zephaniah begins in chapter 1, verse 2. God just jumps into it. He says, "I will sweep everything away from the face of the earth, declares the Lord. I will sweep away both men and beast. I will sweep away the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea and the idols that cause the wicked to stumble." He's a little intense. He says, "When I destroy all mankind on the face of the earth, declares the Lord," verse 4, "I will stretch out my hand against Judah and against all who live in Jerusalem. I will destroy every remnant of Baal worship in this place, the very names of the idolatrous priests, those who bow down on the roofs to worship the starry host, those who bow down and swear by the Lord, and who also swear by Molech, those who turn from following the Lord and neither seek the Lord nor inquire of him." We're only in verse 6. I mean, Zephaniah, and typically all the prophets, minor or major, they get straight to the heart of the matter, and they are not playing around. I mean, even whenever you go to chapter 3, leading into the verse that captured my heart in verse 17, Chapter 3, verse 1, woe to the city of oppressors, rebellious and defiled. She obeys no one. He's talking about Jerusalem. She accepts no correction. She does not trust in the Lord. She does not draw near to her God. And it goes on in a vicious cadence, calling out all of the rulers, all of the officials, all of the treacherous prophets and priests who have defiled the Lord and has brought down this prophetic utterance of judgment. And then in chapter 3, verse 9, like prophetic works are also wont to do, there's a shift in the melody. There's a shift in the song, where all of a sudden, after the pronouncements of judgment, God starts to shift to a tender, intimate vision of what will be. He says, then at that moment, I will purify the lips of the people, that all of them may call on the name of the Lord and serve him shoulder to shoulder. From beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshipers, my scattered people will bring me offerings. On that day, you, Jerusalem, will not be put to shame for all the wrongs you have done to me, because I will remove from you your arrogant boasters. Never again will you be haughty on my holy hill. But I will leave within you the meek and humble. The remnant of Israel will trust in the name of the Lord. They will do no wrong. They will tell no lies. A deceitful tongue will not be found in their mouths. They will eat and lie down, and no one will make them afraid. And then in verse 14, this beautiful picture of God's restoration is saturated with singing. Singing over one another, and ultimately climaxing in a singing of one over us. Verse 14, God commands, sing, daughter Zion, shout aloud, Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all of your heart, daughter Jerusalem. It's asking them to sing the praises of the Lord over one another. And then we get down to verse 17, and this is how this incredible prophetic work concludes its message. In the last couple of verses, verse 17 says this, the Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you. And then listen to this line. But he will rejoice over you with singing. There's a beautiful intimacy to this moment that can only be captured in an image that's fit for memories of our grandparents and memories of our children and even memories of intimate moments with our loved ones. This incredible picture of God singing over us, rejoicing with a song and a praise over us. Whenever all of the wrongs have been made right, whenever all of the sins have been washed away, and whenever once again he reminds us that you are his and he is yours. My prayer for you this week, my challenge for you this week, is to live your life in such a way that you are able to hear the song of the Lord that he is singing over you. And by God's grace, sing that same song over the people around you. I love you guys. Have a good week.